Hello and welcome everybody to this special edition of Immediate Immersion Live. How's everybody's winter break going? Mine has been awesome so far. We are traveling on what day? On Wednesday morning, January 1st. We're driving up to San Francisco. That's about a 2-hour drive with no traffic, but we'll see how it goes, to meet my sister and her husband. For a day. We're staying in one night, so just one day to go to Alcatraz and explore San Francisco together. So that'll be fun. But my break is going way too fast, as I'm sure yours is as well. We'll go back to school a week from today, January 6th. So the break just goes so quick. Anyway, today I wanted to talk to you about some things. It's a special edition. And I don't know if you knew, but I switched schools this year. I went back to high school. So I taught high school for 11 years. Then I went to middle school, which I never thought I would do, for 11 years. And now I'm back to high school. And boy, has things changed. Now, it could be the clientele that I'm dealing with now. It could be that I was stuck in middle school mode, and high school mode is very different, though I didn't have as big of a transition going from high school to middle school. But again, there are a lot of different factors. So I'm in high school. I'm in a lower economical area, school from where I was teaching, which is fine. I'm on a schedule that I don't like, and I've talked about this before. We're on the 4x4 schedule. And if you don't know what that is, that means kids have 4 classes per semester, and they complete a year's of instruction in a semester, so similar to college. So they're on a block schedule, so I see my kids 4 out of 5 days for an hour and a half. And then on PLC days, which are Wednesdays for us, I see them for an hour. But I see my kids daily for the semester. And at the end of the semester, we take finals. They're done. And I get a new set of students for second semester. So it's a little bit different. So I've never been on that schedule before. I've heard of it before. Many of the high schools in my area are on that schedule. And I knew I didn't like it before it happened. And now that I'm in it, I definitely don't like it. Couple of things why I don't like it. Number one is I don't think there's enough time. Just because there is minutes, that's the equal amount of minutes of a academic school year, it's not the same thing, because I can't just double up on the lessons. There's needs to time for that thing to settle and to absorb in the brain. And so I can't teach as much that I would in an academic year in a semester. So I don't like that. For language teachers, math teachers, I think also agree, the block schedule is not always the best, because we need that time for everything to sink in. And so having kids for an hour and a half, we can't double up the lessons. And if we overwhelm them with too much of a lesson, then their brains start to shut off. So I've got to do more brain breaks in there, which aren't a bad thing. But again, those are minutes that aren't being used for instruction, where if my class period was a 45-minute class period to an hour on a regular basis, I wouldn't have to do as many brain breaks. So I would have a better instruction to brain break ratio. I think the material has to come way too fast for the kids. I know what we ended up teaching. This is my first time teaching in a combo textbook CI, because I'm the only one who does CI in my school. And so I have to teach the stuff that's in the textbook, cover it at least. The goal, they always want us goal, is 4 chapters per semester. That wasn't going to happen. I got through 2.5, 3, and found out that my peers only did 2. So you just can't teach as much. And so we're all over the place, even though we're trying to coordinate with PLCs. they don't do the backwards planning. The way they work it is, where are we a week before finals, and let's now create our final based on that. And they have a final they've used previously, and they go, okay, did we get to this? No, let's take that section out. Let's add this section in, and that kind of thing. Instead of creating a schedule saying, this is what we're going to teach, this is what we're going to assess in our final, and let's go backwards and find the instruction minutes in there. So again, I don't like the 4x4. The other thing about the 4x4, which can be a good thing, and I'm liking this only part for this year, I don't think I'll continue this along the way, is I get a restart. And that's the whole topic of this today. We'll have a follow-up live towards the end of the week. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it on Friday or maybe do a special Saturday. I'm not sure, but we will do a follow-up on how I'm fixing what I'm going to be talking about today. But I get a restart. So we come back January 6th, and that's finals week. So I've got my kids Monday, Tuesday. Finals are Wednesday, Thursday. We have the makeup day on Friday. And then the next Monday afterwards is the start of the new semester with new kids. So I get a fresh start. So that's going to help me because I've been struggling this year. And so what I've been struggling with is what I'm going to talk about today. So the mistakes that I have made. So we'll go ahead and talk about those when we come back. So let me go ahead and show you my quick intro video, and then we will be right back. And we're back. For those who don't know, I'm Scott Benedict, and you're watching Immediate Immersion Live, where we're all about comprehension-based instruction in the modern language classroom. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about the mistakes that I have made that caused my learning environment to be detrimental to me and to my students that first semester. And I don't know why it's so different from when I taught high school before. I have some suspicions. Things have changed. Obviously, it's been 11 years since I taught. The last year I taught high school was the 2012-2013 school year. And I started teaching middle school in the 2013-14 school year. And then I finished up teaching middle school last year, the 2023 to 2024 school year. So it could be that things have changed in the past decade, but I'm not so sure that they would have changed that much, because in the previous decade that I was teaching, things didn't change that much, that drastically. What I highly suspect is twofold. One is COVID. That COVID time did a lot to our students. Number one, it messed up with them emotionally and socially. But also, it made them forget what classroom norms were, the etiquette that you're supposed to be having in the classroom. And I've seen some videos around the world talking about how things have changed post-COVID, where civility, that word, has come into play, where kids just don't have it. They don't know common courtesies like don't talk during instruction, get off your cell phones, take your earbuds out. All of those types of things are, gone. And so they haven't had that kind of instruction. When they were in that COVID time, especially when they were on distance learning, they could do whatever they want without consequences. We had no consequences that we could take with them if they were talking, because they would just put themselves on mute and have side conversations or text on their phone. If they had their phone out, again, I had no consequences that I could implement. So it caused an issue along with that. So I think post-COVID is what mostly had with it. But I also think that not all, but for some, the style of parenting has changed, where it's a little bit more permissive. And we'll talk about that with different things as we go along through the areas that I want to talk about. Because the 4 areas that I want to talk about where I failed as a teacher, and I'm going to make the changes and in our follow-up at the Friday or Saturday. I'm not sure what day I'm going to do it yet. I will tell you what changes I'm going to make to hopefully fix these issues that I noticed from the first semester. But the 4 areas that I want to talk about are swearing, side conversations, the technology, the phone earbud situation, and the overall indifference of students. They just don't care anymore. So I want to talk about this, and this is not something to say, oh, woe is me. And it's not saying something that, it's me, that that it's all on me. But as the teacher, it's my responsibility to reflect on what worked and what didn't work, and then make conscientious choices to fix the situations. So the first thing I want to talk about is swearing. And I think this is partly in that permissive parenting mode. I have never, not when I taught high school before, not when I taught middle school, have I dealt with as much swearing as I have in this semester. And I have taught in a variety of socioeconomic areas. I taught in an affluent area outside of Los Angeles. I taught in a wide variety because Las Vegas has a variety, it has wealthy people and it has a lot of poor people and a lot of middle class people. So I had a very mixed thing in Las Vegas. So it was just a much more average type of situation there. And then I taught in a suburb of Sacramento, Roseville, which is an upper middle class area. And now I'm teaching in another suburb of Sacramento called West Sacramento. And they are on the middle class to lower middle class area. So I've taught the gamut, but I've never had so much swearing. I'm telling you, I've just never. It is so bad. And it's not just casual words. It's the F word I'm hearing a lot. And the kids aren't even fazed when they hear it or when they say it. Some say it so often they don't even know that they're saying it. I'm telling you, for me to hear it from a kid, 20 or 30 times in a 90-minute class period is not an exaggeration. Many of my students, and it's not just 1 or 2, or I wouldn't be talking about it. It's pervasive. Can't have a single sentence without an F-bomb in there or some kind of swear word. Now, not to their benefit, but to their, I don't know what word I'm looking for. But most of the time, it's not swearing directed at a person. So it's not, F you or anything like that. It is more of this effing thing that I'm doing, or I don't like this effing thing, or this person was being an effing idiot. Those types of conversations, they use it in their everyday vernacular, and I can't stand it. I am not a swearer in my regular life, and I've never been exposed to this much swearing, and I'm not a prude by any stretch of imagination, but this is just not appropriate for the classroom. And there are some kids who are very immature, not in a negative way, but meaning that they are very young for their age, and they shouldn't be being exposed to hearing these types of things on a regular, everyday basis. So that's one thing. And so I've got to figure out, because I wasn't anticipating this, so I didn't have a plan set for this. I handled it all the ways that I've always handled it because it's never been a huge problem. I've ignored when it was minor. I've talked about, classroom rules that we don't cuss. It's not an appropriate place to do that type of thing. And I've done direct confrontation, but none of that has worked. the kids just don't care. It's such a part of their everyday life. And in many cases, their parents allow them to use this language, and they have no problem using this language with their parents present. So if there's not a support in the home, there's no way I'm going to fix it in the classroom. But that's one of the things that I want to address moving forward in second semester, where I'm getting a new set of kids and I'm going to work on trying to fix that issue and looking for some creative ways to do that. So if any of you experiencing this, especially if you teach in high school, are you seeing an uptick in use of cuss words in your classroom? If so, let me know. Let me know what you've done to kind of curb that, because I'm all ears. I am working on plans right now during break and the first week we come back. So I am ready to hit this head on when we get back. What's the date that we are starting the new semester? 15th, I think, is what it is. January 13th. So January 13th is the start of the new semester. So I'm open to any ideas that any of you have if you are seeing this problem. If you're not seeing this problem, also let me know, because I kind of want to see, is this a widespread or is this just regionalized for me in my particular area? Next, side conversations. Now, this hasn't changed much pre-COVID, post-COVID. It's just escalated. So I've always had to deal with side conversations. I'm sure that you have had to do that as well. Where the problem is it used to be they would just whisper to each other when they sat next to each other. So yes, it was a side conversation, but it wasn't loud enough or disruptive enough to the whole learning environment. But that has changed. Again, I don't know if it's specific to me. I have noticed even in my previous school post-COVID that it has increased. But now what's happening is they don't care. They're not trying to be discreet about it. They will just have open, loud conversations across the room with each other during instruction, which is just plain rude, but I don't think the kids even know how rude it is. I think those years that COVID was going on, the 2 to 3 years that COVID was really affecting education and where kids were really learn some of these skills, they lost them. And they don't have those social skills anymore that they would have had we not had that COVID interrupt the education process. So, I mean, I've tried all of the regular type of things, proximity, calling out students, stopping the lesson, putting negative points up on the board. I have done all of that. But whatever I've done hasn't worked. So again, it's a mistake that I made because I come in, that old adage, don't smile until December. I have never followed that. I try to get to know my students, make my class a more comfortable place, and being a little less strict. I'm not as strict as other teachers in many ways, where I let them put their feet on the chairs because I have empty chairs and they can put their feet on their chairs, or, those types of things. Whereas that was a mistake for this class. I thought everything was going to be the way that it's been, the way that I've been teaching for the past 23 years, and it's not. And so I should have tested the waters first before I let my guard down, but I didn't. I let my guard down to begin with, and it caused problems. So again, that's a mistake that I made, and it added to these side conversations, or the idea that these kids felt that these side conversations were okay. And so they continued doing them. And so, again, when we do this follow-up on Friday or Saturday, I'll let you guys know it was coming up. I'll let you know when we're doing that. We're going to talk about the things that I plan on doing to fix these mistakes. So I'm going to at least try to reduce, if not eliminate, some of these issues for second semester so that the learning environment is a better one for everyone. Now, the third problem is phones and earbuds. Oh my gosh. Now, I know that everyone is having this problem. It's such a big problem that school districts are coming up with very restrictive rules regarding them. My previous school district, at the end of last year, let parents know that this upcoming year, cell phones were not allowed, period. They could not use them on campus at all. Not before school, not after school, not during lunch, not during passing period, not at all. They could have them in their backpacks, but they were not to be seen, period. No exceptions. Done. And I wish I was part of that climate. My current school has the traditional rules of warning, take it away for the class period, take it away for the class day, but student can pick it up at the end of the day, and then take it away for the school day, and then parents come pick it up. Jackie says, my last school had a policy like that. It was really hard to enforce. I'm not sure. I haven't talked with my previous colleagues. We're getting together at the end of January to watch the board teachers comedy tour. If you ever know that, they're on YouTube, Board Teachers. It's a funny comedy sketches that they do, and we're doing that. So we'll get together, and I'll be asking how it went. It's the middle school and elementary school district is what implemented. The high school is a different district, so I'm not sure what they do. But one of the teachers that I hang out with in that group teaches at the high school, so I'll ask how they're handling it. But in the beginning, I know I talked to them in the beginning of the school year, and they said it was being really strictly enforced. And if there was a problem, they had locked lockers at in the main office where the administration would keep the phones for the kids in there. But here at my school, it's this little policy. And California passed a law that all schools had to come up with some strict policy about the cell phones, because it's not just about being rude. It's about, mental health, physical health. I tell my kids all the time, you guys are this guinea pig generation with the cell phones. We do not know what the long-term effects are to your eyes for looking at screens that are backlit, light shining in them for as many hours as you are. That we don't know the long-term mental issues of people who are addicted to phones, or who are, can't put their phone away. They're on them constantly, or that feel only validation by social media, those mental things in there. It's like my grandparents during the smoking time in the 20s and 30s and 40s. We didn't know what the long-term effects were. We do now. And these kids are the guinea pigs. So for many different reasons, we're trying to address the issue. So at the end of, before break, the board adopted pretty much our current procedure. And there's not been any, up to this point, there hasn't been any real enforcement of the rules, because my kids walk around with an earbud in their ear all day long. And if they're not doing that, they're constantly on their phone playing games or texting or doing something like that. And it's become a real big issue. And what I've noticed is that the kids who I have had 3 or more contacts with about phones are failing 2 or more of their 4 classes. And I'm not the only one. When I look at all the documentation, I'm not the only class reporting them using their cell phones. So it's also causing them to potentially have to repeat their freshman year. Let me check up here on the comments. We've got Jackie says, I love that group. This was on a high school level that I taught. I would imagine it'd be much easier to do on an elementary, middle school level. Yeah, I'm excited to see how it worked out because we had a problem. It's not as bad as the problem that I have now because they didn't keep, only 1 or 2 kids would have an earbud in their ear when I taught middle school at a time, and it was, quick. But here it's the majority. I have to tell them, and all they'll do is take it out and switch ears and turn their head and think that I didn't notice. So it's pervasive right now. And Jackie also says, I've been working through The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt, and it talks about this addiction with cell phones. Great. I'm going to take a look at that because I would love to see more about that because they are truly addicted. When I take their phones away, oh my gosh, they're like crying. I can't live without it. One guy goes, my best friend, you just took my best friend away. I'm like, really? You need to have a real live best friend. And I know he was being facetious and joking in there, but these kids really are so connected. And this is another part where the parenting that has changed what we're doing. The permissive parenting has added to this problem. They buy them this expensive phone, and the parents themselves are texting their kids during the school day, which is adding to it. And then I've had parents where I'm telling them there is a problem with their cell phone, and then they say, oh, we'll take care of it. But then to their kid, they tell them something different. And I had one parent who completely defied me and defied the school rules. We said, at this point, we need to take the cell phone away because your child cannot keep it away. And the parent says, no, you will not. My child will keep their cell phone. So we're not even getting support from that particular end. And that particular child was failing 4 out of 4 classes. 4 out of 4 classes. It's a pandemic issue with these cell phones. And so, as I said, I walked into the school year as the status quo, dealing with it as I always dealt with it, which was a handful of kids throughout my day having the problem with the cell phone, and I dealt with it and it curbed the issue, and I usually had the support from the parents. Where this year, I did what I always did and it didn't work. The amount of cell phone use was tremendous. And I'm telling you, the earbud issue, they did not care that I could see the earbud in their ear. They weren't trying to hide it with a hood. Some were with a hood or with long hair, but most just didn't care. And I would tell them 3 or 4 times in a class period to take the earbud out, where I should have just talked about it once and it'd be done. It should not have been another issue. And then once I've been talked to, or I told them about it, it should never have been an issue again, where many of these kids was 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different incidences about the cell phones. So it's been a huge, huge problem. And the problem starts with the parents because they are allowing it and don't see it as a huge problem. And not just allowing it, but they're adding to it by texting their kids during the school day. So I'm going to be starting and hitting this hard at the beginning. I'm going to front load my parents before I have them in their kids in my classroom. So the week we come back, I'm going to start emailing my parents, my new parents that are about to start in a week from then, to let them know about all this type of thing. And again, I'm going to talk about how I hoping to rectify some of these issues that I've been seeing along the way for next time. So we'll be doing that on Friday or Saturday. Again, I'll let you know. I'm not sure what day it's going to work out just yet for me right now. So I'm telling you, and the kids would argue with me when I wanted to take the cell phones away. And then we're supposed to write them up, but there was no follow-up from the administration. So it was just a mess, and it's a bane of my existence. And part of it is also other teachers, because other teachers allow them to use earbuds while they're in class. No. It's like we had this problem with gum at my old school. We had a school rule, no gum, but some teachers would let them use gum, and some teachers, enforced the rule. And if it's not enforced, it's not a rule. So the kids didn't know the boundaries. If one teacher allowed it, another teacher didn't. They didn't know the boundaries. And so they'll be telling me that I'm the only teacher who cares about them having an earbud in their ear. And I can't believe that that's 100% true, but I have to believe it's somewhat true because I'm seeing so many kids wear these dang earbuds. But I'm in a language class. You need both ears to hear me speak the language. You can't have something distracting you in the background. And some will go, but I don't have anything on. Well, if you don't have anything on playing in the background, why do you have them in your ears anyway? It makes no sense. So it has become such a big issue that my mistake of following with the status quo, what always I've done, isn't going to work. And so I'll talk about what I'm going to do upcoming in the new semester, and we'll see if that's going to work. And I'll do a follow-up live stream as well about how well, after I've tried some of these things, how well they have worked after a period of time. And my last thing that I made a mistake with was overall indifference, which resulted in high failure rates. Now, this was surprising to me because my previous exposure in high school for 11 years and my 11 years in middle school, I failed very few students. And let me correct that. I don't fail students. Students fail themselves. So I didn't have very many students who failed. It was a very low number. And when a kid gets a bad grade in my class, and a bad grade for me is C or lower, because I want my kids to have a B or better, so they're really proficient in the language. So any kid who has a C or lower, I start to investigate. I look at their school records. I look at the other classes they're taking. Are they getting poor grades in the other subject areas as well, or is it just my class? Because how I'm going to deal with that situation is going to be different depending on that. So I do that investigation. And in my investigation, I found that a lot of my kids, probably half, and most of my kids were freshmen this year. I had a few kids who were not. And by the nature of the way my school works, I had a very small class load. I don't like small classes. Let me tell you that right off the bat. I don't like small classes. I'm not used to small classes, but that's where I was because I teach on a satellite campus. So we have something called career tech education, and we have an academy for that, and it's on a different site because of the nature of the types of classes. We have a construction where they're building houses. They're building, on a smaller scale, but they're learning to build houses. It's not wood shop. They're not making a birdhouse. They're building a structure and learning how to put electricity in it and plumbing and all that kind of stuff in that type of a situation. So we have to have a special location for that. We have another one, it's animal science, where they're raising animals, goats, pigs, chickens, rabbits, types of animals for farm, and also growing gardens and food. So that can't just happen in a regular high school atmosphere. And then our third one we have is culinary, where we have a full commercial kitchen and a restaurant attached to it where we can the kids participate and learn all about culinary skills. They take 2 classes at this satellite location for the kids who want to take this academy. They don't have to take the career academy. They can just do regular high school, no problem. But for those who do want these take these career academies, they take 2 classes at the academy center, and then they take 2 classes at the regular high school, and they get bussed back and forth. So to pair up the classes, they'll take whatever their pathway is, animal science, culinary, or construction, and then pair it with an elective. And it's the only 2 electives we offer on site is art and language, Spanish. So, I forgot where I was going about all of this. Oh, that's why I have small classes. So I had small classes because not every kid wants to be in the academies, and so I only get the kids who are in the academies, and the academies are smaller numbers by nature. They don't want to have huge. You don't want to have a class of 40 kids in culinary where they're dealing with commercial dishwashers that can burn kids, or commercial stoves, or commercial mixers where there's a lot of things that can go wrong, or construction where they're using, automatic nailing guns and drills and saws and stuff like that. So my classes were relatively small. I had a total of 40 kids throughout my day. I taught 3 out of 4 classes. I had 2 classes of roughly around 8 and a class a little over 20 kids. So of those kids, I would say about half were failing 2 or more classes in their freshman year. 2 or more classes. That means they're already not going to pass their freshman year. And they're already behind the 8 ball because they can only make up 1 class per summer school at a time. And if they are failing 2, that's already 2 years, the summer between freshman and sophomore, and then between sophomore and junior. And what if they fail more classes? And on top of that, yes, they can use some of their elective credits, but they can't use all of their elective credits because they need elective credits also to graduate. So it's causing this problem. And it was this indifference that I didn't expect. I've never, ever had so widespread indifference about education. And as I said when I started this, I've taught in a wide variety of school atmospheres and socioeconomic situations, but I've never had such apathy from students. They just don't care. They don't care that they are failing. They don't care about their grades. I've never had that before. So I didn't know to preempt it in the beginning, and then trying to backpedal and fix it after I realized it was a thing, it was too late. So that's another mistake that I had at the beginning. So I need to find ways to motivate students because the things I've always done didn't work. I mean, my participation points that I do where kids get to buy prizes, I had a handful of kids use that. And some of the prizes are pretty good, like buying a snack. The first time I had to buy a snack was the last week before winter break when they finally realized they could do it again. And I bought four people snacks that they put on the order that they used their points for. There just isn't that motivation anymore. They're just indifferent. They're just clocking in to the class. I couldn't tell you how many kids who literally walked into my classroom and immediately put their heads down and fell asleep for the entire class period. Some had to be woken up at the bell to leave. I had one when I was being observed by my principal who fell asleep 2 feet from him. I tried waking her up. She doesn't get up. She acknowledges, then she goes right back to sleep. I told her the principal is 2 feet from you. She didn't care, and she went to sleep. And I had 2 or 3 kids who did that in my largest class. They would do that every single day. And the principal said, you tell them once, wake up, but you can't harass them about it. So I leave them. But it's never been a problem like this before. I had one kid, he was in football at the beginning of the semester, and so he worked really hard to get a good grade. And then, thank you, Helen. Helen says a very important topic today. Absolutely, I 100% agree. Thank you for acknowledging, Helen. That he did well in the first quarter because he was in football and needed to keep his grades up. But the moment second quarter hit, he was turned off. He didn't do anything. He came to class, went to sleep every single day for the entire period of class. Entire period. Didn't do anything. The entire class period. For the whole last 10 weeks of class. I couldn't believe it. But this was a thing. And so I have to find a way to get them back on track. And the other thing that had to do with this indifference as well is the bathroom train. Oh my gosh. The satellite campus is small, so the bathrooms are really close by. There's not a line for the bathrooms. They don't get crowded because there's just not that many students on this campus. So my normal rule that has worked for decades, I have used this rule, and I've never had a problem like this before, was that I treat you like an adult until you prove otherwise. So if you're in a meeting, or we're at a professional development, or we were in college, we didn't have to raise our hands and ask to go to the bathroom. We quietly left the room, did our business, and came back as quickly as possible. And we didn't need to go to the bathroom 3 or 4 times during a class period or during a meeting. And so I started the same way. You had to sign out. I don't like to be interrupted with the, can I go to the bathroom? Can I go to the bathroom? Or the little cross the fingers type. No. I don't want to be interrupted like that. So I always had sign out, go out, do your business, come back. If there's a problem that I see, then we're going to have a conversation about it. But I was having conversations all the time because some kids were going out 3 and 4 times in an hour and a half. Nobody has to go pee that much. Nobody has to go pee that much. And then they were gone for 5 to 10 minutes. What are they doing in the bathroom for that long? They're not in the bathroom. They're finding ways to avoid class. They're on their cell phones, all of these types of things. So this is an issue. So I can no longer do what I have done because these kids can't handle that much responsibility. And it's so pervasive. It's not just 1 or 2 kids that are abusing the system. It's 80 to 90%. So that's something on me. I have to change something. So I'm looking for ways to fix this for the new semester. I mean, I can't do anything about this one. I've only got a week left with these kids anyway. So I'm going to have to make some changes for that without the interruption, because I still don't want that interruption. I don't want my lesson interrupted, raising a hand thinking they've got an intelligent question or clarification and, can I go to the bathroom? Oh my gosh, I hate that. Absolutely hate that. So we'll be talking about some ideas that I have, but if you have some ideas or things that have worked at your school, let me know. I'm all ears. I'm starting to work on my new policies for the upcoming semester. And again, I will start telling you what some of my ideas are at the end of this week, either Friday or Saturday. Again, I'll let you guys know. And then after maybe a month, so we start January 13th. So maybe mid to end of February, I'll do a follow-up and let you know how things have been working. And if I've made any further changes, we'll do that. But thank you guys for joining me today on this special live stream about the mistakes that I made and how I failed my students this semester. And we'll talk about what I'm planning to do to fix some of them at the end of the week. If you have any ideas or concerns or things that have worked in your classroom that have dealt with swearing, side conversations, phones, earbuds, other electronic devices, indifference, any of those types of things, potty issues, I'd love to hear about them. Put them in the chat. Or if you're watching this on the replay, put them in the comments. I'd love to know. Share so we can all learn from each other. If you have found this helpful today, please like and subscribe and share this video out with others so we can all learn from each other and become better teachers for our students along the way. With that, I'll wish everybody a happy new year. I will see you after the new year, either on the 3rd or the 4th. Again, I'll let everybody know once I get my plans figured out, and we will talk about the changes that I plan on making. I hope everyone has a great new year, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.